All set. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and good morning. I am pleased to join you this morning to introduce Bill 35, the Allseason Resorts Act, joined by Darren Rei, the CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta, and Rachel Lugwig, CEO of Tourism Canmore Kananaskis. Alberta's government has set a bold and ambitious target of growing Alberta's tourism sector from $10 billion in annual visitor spending to $25 billion by 2035. The development of all-season resorts on provincial Crown land is key to reaching this goal, as outlined in Alberta's provincial tourism strategy. Currently, Alberta has no such resorts. When we look to the west, we can see the positive impact all-season resorts can have both within the communities and the province-wide. BC adopted an all-season resorts policy decades ago, which has grown into a key pillar of their tourism economy. BC's more than 20 all-season resorts, such as Whistler and Fernie, generate over $2 billion annually, and Alberta could do the same. Our mountains are just as beautiful as BC's, or in my opinion, even better. If passed, the All-Season Resorts Act will establish a clear and straightforward resort development approval process for applicants to follow, ensuring projects follow all environmental review and Indigenous engagement requirements. It will provide a one-window approach to attract private capital investment into the province's tourism sector. Even more importantly, these resorts would create opportunities for Albertans, creating jobs, bolstering local businesses, and generating long-term economic growth for the region in which they reside. They would also give Albertans an opportunity to enjoy the beauty of their own backyards without needing to book accommodations months in advance or paying unaffordable prices due to overcrowding. All-season resorts aren't just about attracting tourists. They're also about enhancing opportunities and quality of life for Albertans. For the past several months, we've been engaged in consultations with both our ministry partners at Forestry and Parks, Environment and Protected Areas, and Indigenous Relations, as well as industry stakeholders, municipalities, environmental organizations, and Indigenous groups, to share a new direction for tourism development in Alberta that balances economic growth, environmental protection, and Indigenous opportunity. The key to balancing the protection and enjoyment of our beautiful landscapes is in requiring potential development to undergo rigorous environmental reviews and engagement with Indigenous peoples prior to final approval being obtained. Tourism is a major industry in Alberta and a leading contributor to our economy. It plays an essential part in Alberta's economic diversification, provides a platform to share cultures and make memories, and creates jobs in every corner of the province. Our land is vital for our future. By focusing development on well-managed areas, we can preserve Alberta's natural beauty for generations of residents and visitors alike. And government involvement will be focused where it should be, on ensuring that those who align with our vision for sustainable tourism development can create unparalleled experiences right here in Alberta. The proposed All-Season Resorts Act will unlock the potential of our natural resources above the ground, namely the beauty of our landscapes and the warmth and hospitality of Albertans. So we can continue to diversify the province's economy and ensure Alberta remains the best place in the world to live, to play, and to visit. Thank you very much, and I will now turn it over to Darren Rei, President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta.
Thank you, Minister. This is a great day for Alberta. Alberta is built on bold ideas and a love for this land. With the All-Season Resort Act, the province is taking the vital step forward to secure year-round, nature-based experiences that benefit Albertans' well-being and, of course, our economy. For decades, Albertans have traveled in the millions across the border to BC for all-season resort experiences. But now it is time to invest in our own backyard. This act sets the stage for sustainable recreation and resort development designed to protect our natural spaces while meeting record demand for outdoor recreation experiences. With a modern framework, we can reduce red tape and bring new capital into rural Alberta. The Act will support locally accessible resorts, inviting investment that strengthens our communities and provides quality, skilled jobs in the outdoor recreation space. This is more than just a tourism initiative. It's a commitment to diversify Alberta's economy, to build upon strengthening rural regions, and to enhance our quality of life. Albertans have consistently voiced that nature and high-quality outdoor experiences are at the core of our identity. The Allseason Resorts Act honors this, ensuring a future where urban and rural Albertans stay connected to the land that defines us. This is a blueprint, most importantly, for a thriving, resilient Alberta, one where the outdoor lifestyle, the one that we really value so much as Albertans, is accessible to all, both for today and generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you for those remarks, Darren. I'll now turn the time over to Rachel Lugwig, CEO of Tourism Canmore Kananaskis. Rachel.
Thank you, Minister, and good morning. I'm honored to be here today as we celebrate this important milestone for Alberta's tourism industry. As the CEO of Tourism Canmore Kananaskis, I see firsthand the growing interest in the unique, year-round experiences that our region has to offer. Today's announcement from the Government of Alberta to support all-season resort development is an incredible opportunity, not just for tourism growth, but for our community's economic well-being and environmental stewardship. By focusing development on well-managed areas, Alberta's heritage and protected spaces will be preserved for generations of residents and visitors alike. In Canmore and Kananaskis, our local businesses and community are truly the engine of the visitor economy. With this new legislation, we have an opportunity to support the success of these businesses while ensuring that Alberta's tourism contributes positively to the quality of life for all Albertans. As Alberta's population grows, especially in urban centres like Calgary, investment in our provincial parks infrastructure has not kept pace. At the same time, more Albertans are discovering the positive benefits of recreating in nature. The development of all-season resorts allows us to sustainably build capacity and welcome more visitors year-round, particularly when we need it in the shoulder and winter seasons. These quieter months offer guests the chance to experience our landscapes at a slower pace and connect deeply with nature. In turn, this helps us as an industry build capacity that creates a balanced flow of visitors that supports both our workforce and our community at large. Of course, with increased visitation comes the responsibility to protect the very landscapes that draw people here. For many visitors, nature is the main event. Four-season resort development will preserve the vitality of our natural world, not only for the visitor economy, but for the wealth and well-being of our community. By working hand in hand with the Alberta government, we can ensure that the initiative upholds our commitment to responsible tourism, making Canmore and Kananaskis a leader in year-round tourism and environmental stewardship. In closing, I would like to thank Minister Schow and the Government of Alberta for its leadership in championing this initiative. We are inspired by the possibilities ahead and look forward to working with all stakeholders to bring this vision to life for Canmore, Kananaskis, and all of Alberta. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for those comments, Rachel. Aren't Darren and Rachel amazing? You know, over the last 18 months, I've got a chance to get to know them as colleagues, and they are exceptional at what they do. But I'm lucky to also call them friends. I'm very grateful to have you here today to celebrate this. It's now my chance to turn it over to my press secretary, Amber Edgerton, for the question and answer portion of this event.
Thank you. We'll now move to the Q&A portion. We have time for one question and one follow-up each. Please state your name and your outlet before asking your question. We're going to start in the room and then we'll move to the phones. Catherine.
Yeah, Catherine Gurkowski, Alberta today. So as Rachel was saying, if people come to these areas because they want nature. We've also seen the government need to bring in that K-Pass to address some of the need for maintenance. So how do you avoid sort of becoming a victim of your own success, I guess, where there's so many people that it's kind of changing the nature of nature?
Interesting question. Well, I do anticipate tremendous success because of this. We've been hearing from people for a long time who want more opportunities to explore their backyards right here in Alberta. And I think that this legislation will do exactly that. We do expect to see more visitors coming because they're going to know how much more there is to explore in Alberta. I don't think I expect us to be victims of our success, but rather champions of it and seeing more and more of it coming in the future. So I'm very excited about this. I'm excited about the opportunities that it really opens up for us, that it opens up for Albertans, both from an economic diversification standpoint, but also from a exploration standpoint and jobs. It's going to create jobs. It's huge for us.
And in evaluating these projects, proponents will have to submit a business case, and I'm wondering, how will the risk of climate change be factored into this? I mean, we saw what happened in Jasper. We've seen ski resorts have to open later in the season due to snow not being there. So how is that going to be factored into the evaluation of these projects?
Well, from the outset, nothing's going to change from an environmental assessment standpoint. All of that's going to remain exactly the same. But the rest of it, I'll leave to the investors and those who submit master plans to our department. We want to see some incredible plans come forward that will give us a chance to demonstrate the best Alberta has to offer, these incredible four-season resort products. They'll be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, but we'll also let the independent businesses and the investors determine the risk on their projects.
Janet?
I think this is a question for Darren or Rachel, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Who is asking for this? Like, what proponents are approaching you saying, like, we want to do this in Alberta on Crown land, and why Crown land?
Well, if I could actually start off with the answer, and then I'll turn it over to Darren and Rachel if they'd like to. But we're hearing that people want more Alberta. I've been out in market overseas in Asia, in Europe, who we're hearing from travel trade partners over there, people who are booking trips, they want more Alberta products. They want more opportunities to explore Alberta's backyard. And so this is an opportunity for us to do that. We see that there's a lot of congestion in the national parks, and they are our crowning jewels. There is no question, Banff, Jasper, Lake Louise. But to have crowning jewels, you have to have a crown. And so we're going to build out that crown here in the province with more resorts around the entire area. But I'm happy to turn it over to Darren or Rachel. You guys can fight amongst yourselves who gets here first.
No, I think Minister answered that very well. It's Albertans, ultimately, that are telling us that they're looking for more of these experiences. I've lived in the mountains now for over 20 years. I mean, I've seen the exponential demand for outdoor recreation experiences. I mean, Calgary's population alone has increased by about 1 million people over the last 30 years. So this sense of busyness is palpable. But that is just a function of being a larger province. And then there's the dynamic of the world that we're inviting to come visit us and that also want to experience these places. So I think we need to make these connections, that there are more opportunities, more landscapes in Alberta to be experienced. Part of what Allseason Resorts Act will support is this idea of just that, moving with purpose into supporting all seasons activity. At present, we have too much emphasis on summer. There aren't many places in Alberta, elsewhere in the world, that struggle with inviting people in to experience their destinations in the summer. But it's the winter, it's the shoulder season part that makes it a little difficult to support the needs, first of Albertans, to be healthy, to connect with nature, and then, of course, to diversify the demand cycle so we get more visitors at other times of the year. So we smooth out that demand curve a little bit, so it's not just all about summer. This is what this will help us do. Thank you.
I would also add one more thing. The numbers. The numbers tell us that this is in high demand. We have a real travel deficit with British Columbia, where Albertans are spending about $2 billion more in BC than BCers are spending in Alberta. They're going there for the four-season resorts, and it's the numbers are to back this up. There is a high demand from Albertans who want more opportunities to use Alberta land for enjoyment responsibly and environmentally conscientious.
Do you have a follow-up, Janet?
I do. Moving beyond the mountains, this is a question for my colleague up in Fort McMurray. Some people in the Wood Buffalo region would like it to become more appealing to tourists, including things like hunting and fishing with possible Indigenous involvement in running some of those businesses. Will the legislation facilitate this kind of operation in any way?
100%. Yeah, this is for Alberta-wide on public land. And in terms of Indigenous opportunities, I'm really glad you mentioned that. We just had an announcement recently with Rick Wilson, who expanded the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation mandate to include tourism products. So projects that are over $20 million will be considered, which means we can have real partnerships with Indigenous communities. And as I mentioned earlier, I've been in market overseas, and our visitors coming from overseas and here in Canada and around Alberta, 2/3 of them want an authentic Indigenous and tourism experience. And we have some great products already, but they want more. And we're going to help facilitate that. So the long answer to a short question is yes.
Then.
Yeah, Shailen Skowski with CTV News. I'm wondering about the regulator. I understand they'll be ultimately responsible for making decisions around whether these permits are given to private operators. Who will this regulator be? How will that decision be made, and what background might they have that will give them the ability to make these decisions?
Yeah, great question. So we will be setting up a new sole life cycle regulator for the Four Season Resorts development, specifically on provincial public land. What that will do is create a one-window policy that allows people who have a master plan and want to be evaluated for development to determine the scope of it and whether it's within, whether it meets all the criteria. But I think it's important to note that up until this point, to do something like we're planning to do going forward has been stretched over several ministries and pieces of legislation. It's quite a disjointed process. We will consolidate that into tourism and sport with the sole life cycle regulator, and they'll determine, the viability of project, or they'll look at projects on a case-by-case basis and determine if they can proceed.
I guess just as a follow-up to that, and then a secondary question, is that a position that you will then appoint? Is that somebody that you will put in that position? And then just as a follow-up, I know you talked about balancing environmental protections and Indigenous growth and economic opportunities, but I guess tell me a little bit more about the appeals process. If someone doesn't agree that all of those things are being fairly balanced and they don't want to see a project move ahead.
Well, the appeals process will also go through the life cycle regulator, and that hiring process will go through an open process, an open hiring process, as it does typical in departments in the government.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Sean Amato, City News. Just wondering, I think I read that BC has 13 of these all-season resorts. What's a reasonable number you expect for Alberta, and where do you expect these will be? Is this mostly for Kananaskis country? I wouldn't suspect there's a high demand for, one of these near a field, near Barhead or Lloyd, or maybe there is, I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the great part about this legislation, it's framework legislation that opens the door to investment, and we're going to let the free market determine what the best products are. And they'll be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So I wouldn't be in a position to say how many are going to be coming to Alberta, but I am in a position to say that I've heard from residents and through engagements that this is in high demand, and there is real barriers in Alberta currently to make something like a four-season resort happen. And if you talk to someone who loves to downhill mountain bike, for example, you can't do that in Alberta at the moment. A lot of them go to BC. So these are the kinds of things we're hearing people want to do here in Alberta. They want to stay here. And I'm excited for the future of resort development in the province.
You say that you're consulting with residents and you're hearing from residents and that sort of thing. What are you hearing from businesses? Are businesses approaching your ministry saying, we want to open a resort near Fort McMurray, but we can't right now? Like, are businesses coming forward and expressing interest in this?
We've heard broadly that it's a very difficult, disjointed process to create a four-season resort in Alberta. And as a result of that, we're reacting and creating this Allseason Resorts Act to streamline the process and make it simpler for investment. There are incredible business owners and entrepreneurs in this province with some great ideas, but it is a difficult process. We're going to make it easier.
Thanks, Sean. Go for it, Aaron.
Aaron Sousa with the Canadian Press. My questions come from a colleague on an unrelated matter. They're wondering where we're at with Bill 29 specifically since its introduction last week. They're wondering, has your ministry been hearing reactions about this and how you would rate them, since they've been hearing about a lot of criticism over lack of consultation with sporting organizations across the province?
Well, I would say that this is something I've heard from stakeholders in the sporting organizations, coaches, parents, athletes, real concerns about safety in sport. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity to create a fair and level playing field that's inclusive and everyone can play. Because sports is exciting. Sports is inclusive. Sports is for everyone. And so we're creating an environment that balances that need for inclusion, safety, and fairness.
And the follow-up is, there are still a lot of questions about this bill, like how exactly it's going to be enforced. They're wondering, will sports organizations be expected to hire dedicated staff to carry out this work? And if groups are going to have to create separate divisions, separate teams, like co-ed teams, have there been any discussions about creating funding for something like this? Because I could imagine something like that would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, you make a great point, and we do recognize that there will be some demands going forward should there be a need for co-ed divisions. If provincial sport organizations reach out to us and need the support, we're there to support them. Because again, going back to the initial point, sports is for everyone, and we are creating a female-only division for women and girls to compete fairly and safely. But we're also going to make sure that there are co-ed divisions for anyone to compete. And if provincial sport organizations, public institutions, or post-secondaries need support in creating those, we'll be there to work with them on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Seeing no more questions in the room, we're going to go to questions over the phone. Operator, can you please put through our first caller?
Sure. The first question is from Emmanuel Brents from Radio Canada. Please go ahead.
Hi, Minister. First question is for you. So in her speech, Ms. Lugwig said that the investments in Alberta parks have not kept up with the population growth and, frankly, the popularity of these parks. So I understand you're now relying on the private sector to develop land and to develop an offer. Why is not the government doing it?
Well, we believe in the free market. We believe the free market will do it best, and they'll determine the kinds of products that are in high demand here. I would imagine that if someone comes forward to the government with a master plan in mind, that they will have done a number of consultations and engagements and market research to determine what's in the best interest of the area and the kinds of products that they want to see. So whether it's mountain coasters or skiing or it's downhill mountain biking, spas, I mean, you name it, we want to make sure that it's all done with the environment in mind and consulting broadly and done responsibly. But we're going to let the free market do what it does best and create some incredible products for Alberta, and in the process, create jobs and create wealth.
Do you have a follow-up, Emmanuel?
Yeah, my follow-up would be for the other people on the stage right now, so Mr. Reeder and Ms. Ludwig. So I understand that the government is introducing a framework today, but could you give us precise examples of what your members would like to do with these groundlands? Why is there a need to develop these groundlands for tourism?
Thank you for the question. And again, just to build on what Minister said, it's Albertans by virtue of the numbers with which they visit existing destinations that show us that they are hungry for more experiences in Alberta. I come back to this being a simple case, a starting point of saying, how do we serve the needs of Albertans? These are essentially trusts that we're creating for future generations of Albertans, and to not just support an economic and rural need, but to also support a healthier society. And I think that's a really important piece to emphasize here, is that by investing in more opportunities to put people in nature, we are doing preventative health. And this reduces a lot of burden on our healthcare system. So I think we don't have prescriptive requests of businesses that want to build things at this point, but we know the types of products that they would want to build. And I think what the Resort Act does is signal to investors that the government is trying to de-risk things by making it clear, by creating a predictable, accessible, concierge-style process by which investors can get to yes. And I've been privy to discussions in the past where I've seen hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects pick their bags up and go to other provinces because there is a capacity, there is a legislative framework to support people to get to yes. This is about improving access for investment and catalyzing opportunity in another economic sector that Alberta should be able to find success on. Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing no more questions on the line. And we're doing one question, one follow-up. So that will bring us to the end of our time here today. If you have any additional questions that we weren't able to get to, Catherine, you can you can contact me. My contact information is at the bottom of the news release. I also would just like to remind everyone that the contents of this press conference and the materials that you were provided earlier today are embargoed until the legislation is tabled this afternoon. So thank you all very much and have a good day.
Thank you.